documentation is the actual money. Your
Hello,
signature,
dear
these kind of
listeners.
things, your parents'
Today,
signature,
Michael
them putting
Carnegie
the
has
print
something
down,
special
that
for you.
means something,
A business
because
opportunity
you are
that might just change your
actually
life.
the creditor.
Imagine working from the comforts of your own home or anywhere in the world with just your laptop, computer, or smartphone. Intrigued? Well, stay tuned because Michael Carnegie is about to unveil the secrets of an exciting online business. Friends, this isn't your typical business. In fact, it's so unique that you don't sell a single product. Instead, you share the incredible benefits of this opportunity with others, helping them kickstart their journey to passive income. And the best part? It's automated, running 24/7, 365 days a year. So what's the catch? There isn't one. No need to stock inventory, handle shipping, or deal with customer service. Just sit back, relax, and watch your income grow. But how do you get started? That's the easy part. The entire training program is video-based, making it accessible to anyone regardless of their background or experience. And if you ever find yourself in need of guidance, mentors are there to support you every step of the way. Now you might be wondering, what's the real payoff? Well, here it is. More time with your family. Picture never missing out on your children's important milestones, creating countless memories due to increased travel time, and having the financial freedom to save for retirement and even that dream home. Imagine a life where you're not tied to a 9-to-5 routine, but instead you're in control of your time and your destiny. This is not just a business opportunity, it's a lifestyle change. If you're ready to take the plunge into a world of unlimited potential, where your success is only limited by your ambition, then this online business may just be the game changer you've been waiting for. To learn more and start your journey to financial freedom, visit the website at www.michaelmcarnegie.com. That's www.michaelmcarnegie.com. Don't let this opportunity pass you by.
The world is a troubled place. We must find time to save the human race. Love, unity, and empathy has no place among the human race. In this transition, when we live in love and harmony and show respect with unity, only love can set us free to fight injustice wherever it be. Just said the hungry must be fed, but man can't live by only bread. We have the future in our hands. Let's take the trot to the promised land. Jamaica, Ethiopia, America, calling, Nyankopong, calling, Nyankopong, calling, Nyankopong, calling, Nyankopong. From the middle of the graveyard to the center of the sea, our ancestors, are you and me, we are the great ones. From the beginning of time, we have the heart, the soul, the body, and the mind. Calling, Nyankopong, calling, Nyankopong, calling, Nyankopong, calling. United we stand, divided we fall. All for one and one for all. Some never know themselves until them back against the wall. Jamaica, Haiti, Nyankopong a call.
Grand rising, and I must say, another session, and today is going to be very unique. It's going to be special as usual. As you know, we have our brother here with us, and the Grand Sheik is here. Anytime him come and set the pace right. Always bringing knowledge, wisdom, and inner standing. And before the Sheik came on, uh, we are broadcasting live now the rebroadcast of what we did Saturday as to the official launching with the Moorish Temple, chapter number 27, and Nyankopong. Yeah, we are definitely putting the pieces together. I know that a lot of our sisters and brothers are not present in the classroom yet. I see brother Danny. Danny, you'll have to get a book and make a note of the latecomers. Danny will be taking 10%. Let's take 0.1% of their estate for late attendance today. Danny, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I apologize for last night because we dropped asleep in the class.
See it
Sorry,
there?
I believe you could have seen me on the camera.
I saw you last night where you were present but you were sleeping. Of course, the rebroadcast of the YouTube is there, so you can catch up on anything that you miss out on last night. I think last night was very informative again, as do all of our gathering, and that is why we cherish when each of our brothers and sisters make themselves present in the classroom so we can have a one-on-one diplomatic reasoning. Sister Barrett is there with us, but what was that?
It's all the long hours, them 12-hour shift.
When the
Like tomorrow
next,
morning, no.
yes. Yes.
Tomorrow morning, I got to market early.
Okay.
Hardly get any
Tell you
sleep.
what. Tell you what. I told you to give. I reminded you to give me a call in the day when time is balanced on your side of the pond, so we can discuss. Because I have something planned for the UK brothers and sisters that is going to fall within the day. But even though I put it in the day, some of you still work, so you'll all have to be very flexible when your class is going on. Here come Crystal. Crystal, Danny is taking a 0.1% of your estate for late arrival. All right, just that you know. But without any further ado, we have Crystal here, we have Danny here, and the Sheik, Grand Sheik Page is here, and he's going to share some knowledge with us. We're in the review week, where anything that you did not grasp, anything you did not fully comprehend, you can ask the question this week. Do not be silent. Make your question be known. So, without any further ado, I want to say Grand Rising to the Grand Sheik Page, Bay, of course, from the Moorish Temple, Science Temple, chapter 27, right here in Indiana. Grand Rising, my brother.
Islam, my brother. Peace and love. I'm risen giving all praise to Allah.
Yes.
Highest honor to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Peace be upon him. All the divinely led prophets and our His Excellency, the Marcus Mosiah Garvey, for being the harbinger of the immortal message of the power of our people. We give honors to all those who are working towards this brighter day, this better day. For all of our children, for all of our women, for the men, for the people of our nation, and humanity in general, because we want to see everybody do good. But honors to you all, peace and love. Thank you for having me here again, my brother.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yes, as I'm saying, this week is review week, and we have a few interesting things on the table. Now, when it comes down to what we are doing with our documents, because tonight we are going over our documents, we have a few pointers that we want to share. Some little trinket that I pick up And of course, Grand Sheik can speak on it if you choose to when we put up the material. It is the copyright trademark of your name, how to actually work within that scope, you know. So there's something here that I think we can learn from. I'll try to put it up and then we can analyze it. I think we can all we've been touching on these topics throughout the session. So now we can apply. So I want to show the practical part of what we've been teaching our brothers and sisters as far as their document goes. All right.
Why?
Praise the Lord.
I nudged my attorney and I said, now you cross-examine him on that point. Remember, I told you about that, and that guy's lying. And my attorney, he nudged me a little bit and he smiled, patted me on my hand, and he said, I've got everything under control, George. And he excused that fellow and he walked right out of the courtroom. And then another witness came in, same story, and a third witness. And pretty soon I couldn't contain myself anymore. And he was about to excuse this third witness. And I said, well, I object, Your Honor. I want to cross-examine this fellow. And it was Judge Willis. And Willis just come unhinged. He practically lunged across the bench as he pointed his finger and he said, Mr. Gordon, you're out of order. One more outburst like this, and I'll hold you in contempt. Mr. Bickle is your attorney. Mr. Bickle will speak for you. I hadn't been talked to like that since I was 5 years old. And my daddy told me to get my elbows off the table. You know, when you hire a guy and you're paying him money, you kind of think that it's an employer-employee relationship. I'm the boss and you work for me. Now you go to court, you find out it's a guardian-ward relationship, and your attorney is the boss, and you're a ward of your attorney. Out of your own mouth, you have said that I'm a legal incompetent. Now you have no rights. And oftentimes people complain to me. They say, well, my goodness, I don't seem to have any rights. And that's exactly correct. The reason that you don't have any rights is because you've contracted those rights away. Now that's what's happened to us. We went down and signed a social security application, and we declared ourselves to be spendthrifts, incompetent to manage our own estate.
Sheik, are you there? This is explaining not only the contract part of how they trap you, but you don't have any rights when you go into certain contract. I think we have touched on that already, but can you dig into that a bit for me as far as what I'm playing?
Yes. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can pull something real quick. If it doesn't, okay. Okay. So that's interesting that you play this. I was just, I do private consulting, and I work with individuals when they're trying to figure out complex or what seems to be complex issues, with all kinds of situations. We'll put it like that. And sometimes they happen to go into the realm of law. And there's an interesting thing called, I want everybody to write this down, corpus juris secundum. Corpus juris secundum. And
could you write that in the chat?
okay.
Could you touch it in the chat room for Sister Crystal?
Yeah. Corpus juris secundum. Okay, I want to say it's Secundum. I want to say it's Section 7. I want to say it's Section 7. But the interesting thing about corpus juris secundum is that means the body of the law, right? The body of laws, should we call it? Yeah. And second body of the law, corpus juris secundum, second body of the law. Now, in there, they have an interesting section. I want to say it's Section 7. But it states that the attorney in their client and attorney relationship, look up client and attorney relationship in there. And it states that an attorney's first duty and responsibility is to the court. So in their body of laws, they have to do or go by the commands or procedure of the court, or what's favorable for the court before they can do what's more favorable. Like if it comes down to the court and the individual, they have to do what the court says before the individual, even if he right, even if like that guy said he's not cross-examining the witnesses and he's like ready to explode because he's looking like, why are you letting them go? Why aren't you saying these things? And it's because he did give that attorney the power of his voice to litigate for him in state court or in that particular court. And the thing about that is that when you hire one to litigate for you, you are saying that you are, if you hire them to litigate for your estate, which is your name, which is your title, right? If you hire them to do that, then in court, you're not necessarily looked at as a competent, you're looked at as a minor, because attorney's job is to turn you over. Their job is to bring you before the court and make sure you show up, because in many cases, when your estate is not secure or you haven't secured yourself, you are the collateral of whatever debt or civil liability or criminal charge. They're mostly all financial.
Yep.
You're the collateral to make sure that's paid.
I want to, because we're going to continue with it, because he was explaining how that contract came into place. That part of it, the contract, how did that contract get into place? He was explaining it as far as your social goes.
Now, attorney client. Now with the social, basically all he's saying is a lot of people misunderstand this. All right, and real quick before I get on that, I found it. It's Corpus Juris Secundum, Volume 7, Section 4. That's where it talks about the attorney and client relationship. Okay. The attorney's first, it says, the attorney's first duty is to the courts and the public, not to the client. And wherever the duties to his client conflict with those he owes as an officer of the court in the administration of justice, the former must yield to the latter. So his duty to the client must yield to the duty of the court. And this is why people get turned over, because if the court wants you, then what's he supposed to do? That's how he makes his money. You gotta remember, all these guys have bar cards.
So isn't that a blatant conflict of interest? Because he's not really representing you, is it? Because he's employed by the said agent that is bringing the crime against you.
Right. In the sense, because he's and this is where the Social Security part comes in, if I may.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about the Social Security, it's not so much the Social Security that is the problem, in the sense is the Social Security is an account. The Social Security is a vault that is the gateway between your equitable side, which is the gold and silver that's promised in the constitutions and stuff like that, and to the commercial side, which is dealing with the fiat currencies and stuff like that. That's the transference. So it's not so much as the Social Security account. It's really just social insurance. What they're doing is they're breaching that trust or that account by you not claiming the title to your estate. So it's really the birth certificate, in the sense, which is the bond that funded the Social Security account in the first place. All right. So these work in collusion, in the sense, but the birth certificate bond, if it's not claimed by the time you're 18 until 25, then the state assumes that you are lost at sea. And then they will administer to it and utilize the interest of it, so forth and so on, until somebody comes and makes a claim.
Okay, I'm going to continue. Any question before I continue? Because I want us to get the full scoop of this. It's very important. Grand Rising, Brother Akeem, I see you just reached.
Admitting that from time to time we become unemployed and need workman's compensation, unemployment insurance, aid to families with dependent children, and 105 other benefits that our government gives to us by virtue of the Social Security account. But I'm not here to criticize Social Security. I'm just here to point out that when you sign that contract, you enter into a relation with your government that divorces you from the Bill of Rights. And that's what makes you a taxpayer. So if you've wondered why or what power it is that government has over you that they compel you to pay this income tax, it's your Social Security card. Our hypothetical circumstance over here, and you agree to work for General Motors for $10 an hour. And General Motors says, well, if you'll work 40 hours a week at $10 an hour, we'll pay you $400 a week. And so you sign some papers. There was a W-4 form there. Do you remember that one? That's kind of an important contract there, because it authorizes General Motors to make some deductions.
W-4. He said that there was a W-4 form there. Familiar with that? You want to talk a bit about that?
Well, we know the W-4 is tax, income tax. Now, the W-4, if you read the actual laws of the W-4, with it, it's supposed to be posted in every workplace, a conspicuous notice called a W-4 notice. When you read the W-4 notice, by federal law, it's supposed to be there for employees to read. The W-4 notice states that taxes are voluntary. Income taxes are voluntary. So you don't necessarily have to sign a W-4 unless you voluntarily want to pay taxes. But here's the catch-22. The corporation, since they're a creature in the sense, they have to, by law, offer you the W-4 for them to operate and do their thing. What they're trying to do is defer taxes onto you. All right. The taxes that they pay to operate and have you there, those are their taxes. The income tax, because remember, you're working so-called for them, making their things, making their business go, blah, blah, blah. You're just getting compensated for your energy and your time. You can't be taxed on that. So what they do is they give you the option to pay their taxes for them, but make it seem like, you know, you have no choice. When you do, there's You can 1099 contract when you get the job. You can go tax exempt. You don't necessarily. Some people just get in the door, and then they go exempt once they get in the door, and then you can handle your taxes on your own on the back end. But then that would take a little more study and a little more looking into how you would execute like the 1099s and stuff like that, and your 1040s or 1041s, so forth and so on.
Okay. I think he's going to go into that solution now that you're talking about, because I think we have the solution, but we're not applying it. So just everything that you said a while ago was in accordance with what he's trying to tell us.
You work a week. At the end of the week, did you get paid $400? And the answer was no, you didn't, because a dollar is a round coin. You know, it's one of those Morgan silver dollars that has 371.25 grains of silver. You didn't get one of those. You contracted for 400 of those, but at the end of the week, you didn't get those. The company gave you a piece of paper. It was about 3 by 6 inches by 10,000ths of an inch thick, called a check. And it had some funny writings and numerals inscribed on it. And it says pay to the order of, and the net balance was $310. Now, at that moment in time, when you got that very first check, we had a fraud on the contract. You didn't get your round Morgan silver dollars. You got a piece of paper. You had a right to sue, but you didn't sue. And when you failed to sue at the end of the first week for the damage that was obviously inflicted upon you, breach of contract, you waived your right forever to sue in the future. Because after all, it's true, I lied to you when I hired you and told you I was going to pay you $400 a week and I only gave you $310. But then you took the $310, you cashed the check, which was the prima facie evidence that you agreed with the new terms of the contract, which is called a constructive fraud. Now that you've agreed with the constructive fraud and ratified the terms of the contract, you're locked in, and your rights to sue are now terminated. But in 1900, we didn't have an income tax. We didn't have an income tax until we got paper money, and we didn't get paper money from a private bank until 1913. Remember, it was December the 24th, 1913, that fateful day, when we created the Federal Reserve Act. And when we created the Federal Reserve Charter, we created the Income Tax Act at the same time. If you're going to put this paper in circulation, you got to have a way to get it out.
Sheik, was that too much? Because that's a lot right there.
No, I like to say, like, basically, I deal with a lot of this kind of stuff recently, and what I feel like a lot of these guys, they're hitting the nail on the head, but a lot of the point that they're missing is that, yes, the Federal Reserve came in 1913 and created the Federal Reserve Act. The paper money came, Social Security came in 1936 and these kind of things. But the problem was the people's ignorance for financial acumen in the first sense. The bankers, they created everything to simply, it seems like, to separate the public from the private.
Contract.
What'd you say?
Was that a contract fraud? That's what he's calling it.
It's not necessarily a contract fraud in the sense that everything that they did is on paper, but how many people have read the Federal Reserve Act? So it's like anything. We can complain all day, but have you read the law that created the thing that you're complaining about? Because think about it like this. Nobody's I used to think this way. We're forced to use this paper money. But actually, with like in our day and age, with things like credit, or so-called with your Social Security account and your bond, if you understood how to utilize financial tools, you actually don't have to use the paper money for anything. But the mass of the people, they're stuck in that sense that they think the money in hand is king. You ever heard somebody say cash is king and all that kind of stuff? But really, It literally is just what it is. It's paper, and it represents credits. It's just an archaic form of credits in your hand that can be used privately where there's no paper trail, so to say. But really, nobody has to use these things, but it's all about understanding your public persona from your private persona.
So,
And yeah.
so what about the philosophy that you're incompetent to handle your business, and that is why they give you your resources through the Social Security?
Yes. Now, the incompetence is definitely, it's, there's always two sides, and this is how they play it. One side is going to play it like what we know. We know that the effort to instruct the people in true financial liberation has not been a effort that has been pushed by like our schools or the public schools that we go into and all that kind of stuff. But they tell you right there, public school. So they train you to be a publican. They're training us to be public citizens, meaning that we become or acquiesce to being people of the state and not of our own estate or our religious estates or our cultural estate. We have now been prompted up since about 1905 when the school board takeover happened to be publicans, to act and think and execute our business as public personas, and not understanding that we have an equitable side, a private side. So we don't utilize the private side because we don't know about it, we're not taught about it, and we go forth doing business like any other business that's out in the public.
Yep.
And so that's what, and because there's information and books and governmental laws written on the how to do this stuff, but at the same time, that stuff is 800 pages. Some of it's overwhelming. Some of it's a lot of legalese. So they always say, well, it's out there. The knowledge is there. We put it out there. The law is there. But in the actual equitable sense, we know that it's not made easily understood or easily available to the masses.
Any questions? Any question? If there's any question, all right, I'm gonna go back to the finishing of the tape. Hold on.
Oh, no, they're not taxing your wages. And they're not taxing your labor. That's against the law because wages are property and so is your labor. And you can't tax property. Property has never been assessed or taxed in the United States. Well, then what was this $90 tax on? The $90 tax is the excise tax that is levied by the United States government for the privilege of conducting trade, commerce, business, and industry under the Commerce Clause at Article 1, Section 8 in interstate commerce. Tax was on the check that you received, not the labor. Because you voluntarily gave your labor to the company and it's gone forever. Remember, you're going to die someday and you can never get that 40 hours back. At the end of the week, they gave you 310, deducted the 90, which was the Federal Reserve Bank's commission for giving you the $310 that you needed to go out to Kmart to buy shoes so that you could discharge your obligations in equity rather than pay your debts at law. What if the IRS man said, well, how much was the gold worth? Well, the gold was worth 1 camera. Well, how much was the camera worth? It was worth 1 ounce of gold. How many dollars was the camera worth? It wasn't worth any dollars. We contracted in gold for cameras and cameras for gold. There was no dollar value because the income tax is always denominated in dollars. And dollars is a copyrighted trademark of the Federal Reserve. And there was a witness.
Yes. That's interesting. He says about the dollars too, because dollars, that essentially comes from the word that we get, the word peso. And when you really get to the root of dollar, I did a class on this like 2 years ago, but dollar means nothing. It literally means zero, because the symbol for the dollar symbol, the S with the lines, yeah, that means nothing. Like literally. So it's all it's very interesting that they chose that symbol and whatnot to delineate the so-called currency. But you ever notice, they might put that symbol up there, but really it's all just numbers on a computer in this day and age at the end of the day. Now, the reason why, because we live in a world of duality, as above, so below, as within, so without. We have the night to define the day. We have the public to define the private, and so forth and so on. So there's always a strange in between with these kind of things. I would say that, like with the Social Security, the birth certificate, these kind of things, the Social Security is a account that was set up for everyone who has an interest in this, and to give their in tradeship of their commercial interest, their Social Security account is a type of social insurance that's backed by the gold that was confiscated off of the land in 1933. So everybody has a so-called small trust. A trust is a corporation. So when people say, hey, the straw man, the corporation and all that, they're talking about your estate, your name, which is your Social Security, funded by your birth certificate bond, right? So it has things behind it that power it, that give it value, but you're not just going to go take it and cash it at the bank and say, hey, give me the money for my birth certificate. That's not how it works. Your Social Security is just like I said, it's a gateway for the benefits of giving up your constitutional rights, in the sense of the gold and silver, being able to pay debts. So they can't do away with the Constitution. They didn't do away with the Constitution. What they did was they said, okay, well, the Constitution said only debts can be paid in gold and silver. So how do we get around this little hump, or what other way can we come around? Okay, we won't pay debts. We won't pay debts. What we'll do is we'll transfer debts amongst each other. So now the debts become the money. Who has the most money is actually who has the most debt in this monetized debt system, in the sense, right? So so since we're not paying debts, because that would be unconstitutional, and the government it's not going to go against the Constitution. What they do is that it's the public where, all right, what we'll do is, if you have $50,000 worth of debt, and this debt is owed, and I know you're good for it, but you just acquired the debt, I'll take that debt off of you, right? And I'll transfer it, let's say for 60,000, and now you made profit, but really you didn't. You just got more like debt, right? So then he takes your debt note and then uses it as another debt to transfer. And that's just the simplest way I can put it, And I'll give one more example of how this is going. Since we don't have the gold and silver to pay the debts, and now debt is the money, it's called a monetized debt system. The reason it works is because it'd be like the United States of America. It's a big, big government, and everybody knows it has plenty of people, plenty of land, plenty of resources, things like that. So if the United States came to you and said, hey, if you do this thing for me, I'm going to give you $50 million, and say it was something, it wasn't challenging your integrity or anything. It was just like, write us up a thing, or say you're a shoemaker, make us some shoes. You said, okay. And then they gave you an IOU that said, this is good for $50 million to whoever brings this back to us, whoever. So then you got the $50 million slip, and you're like, wow, okay, you're making the shoes. But now you got business ideas. You say, you know what? There's $100 million investment that I want to invest in, and now I have 50 million in debt. They owe me 50 million. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to find somebody else with another 50 million, or people that can add up to another 50 million, and see if they want to go on in this investment with me. So now you find the people, and everybody puts their thing in, and you put in your debt note, and they say, what is that? And you say, oh, it's a debt. The United States owes me 50 million. And everybody goes, oh, well, they're good for it. They got the stamp on it. They signed it. Yeah, we'll take that. So then the bank who finances you guys, the 100 million or whatever, they take all the stuff and they take the debt note and they're happy. So now they got the 100 million in debt notes. And then they go and try to sell the debt to somebody else to do a bigger thing, because it all links back to somebody who's rich will be able to pay it eventually if somebody actually wanted to cash it in. But they never cash it in. They just use it as money. Because everybody knows that Mr. Big Bucks, United States of America, is good for it. So it's just as good as money, right?
Yeah.
And that's how they do it.
Go ahead. James is asking a question: what do I need to present to my employer to stop paying Social Security, etc.? Is there a document?
What documents do I need to present to my employer to stop paying Social Security, etc.? So truly, I would tell you guys to read the W-4 notice. The W-4 notice. The W-4 notice. The W-4 notice goes into how the taxes are voluntary and how your employer is supposed to not make you sign W-4s and all that kind of stuff. So the thing is that people don't utilize the power of lawsuit. A lot of times these corporations, employees, or whatever, they do what they do because they know people are just going to go, well, there's nothing I can do. Or if they fire you, you think, oh, no, well, there's nothing that I did. Nothing they did wrong. I did something wrong. I just signed the paper,
Can I say something? There was, in that video, the first thing he said was, you signed in for 400, but you got a check for 310. And you now take the check and cash it. And immediately after cashing that check, that contract becomes active. What you should have done with that 310 is get a legal stand on it so you could dispute this $90 that came out of it.
I know people who literally they go to jobs just to sue.
Yes.
I know people who literally they go to a job, they work for a few months, they find where the job is messing up in their policy and procedure, and then they sue, and then they get $40,000 or whatever they're going to make for that year.
Yeah.
And then they sit back, live off that, go to another job. Some people go to jobs just to get the employee manuals and stuff, and they'll study that stuff for real. Think, wow, this is a good employee. He's going to be good. He's really studying the handbook. The whole time he's just setting you up, because there's always something in those policies that the company probably is not doing right, especially when it comes to safety, that you could, as soon as you see it, you could sue and get paid out for the rest of the year and go to the next, because it's all business. It's not personal. But see, we make it personal. Oh, man, I like this job. I like these people. But the whole time is, like you said, you're getting your money, your wages, your compensation taken, and that's hindering certain capabilities in your life as well. So I'm not saying it's for everybody. I just know people who literally they do that, and they've been they've been building up off of that, because let's just be real. You go into most of the jobs and you're just a number. You know what I'm saying? And so they, a lot of times they make sure you know that too, depending on, you know, you work at a warehouse or a factory or something. Oh yeah, you're just literally just a number for most of these places.
Mm.
So James Brown, I would tell you, if you would like some further instruction on this, just reach out to me, because it goes a little bit deeper, and there are some things, there are some so-called, you know, paperworks that go for something like this. And anybody who wants to reach out, you know, this kind of stuff I do professionally, and I, you know, we have some remedy for that.
Yeah. Any more questions? Crystal, any question? No? All right, let me drop something that will uplift the family, because you know we're talking about some of the challenge that we're facing when it comes on to the finance, but you know we have to go deeper in that. We have to know exactly how did we reach to this point and who we are as a people, as brothers and sisters. So this is just something again that I want to share with the massive, and then we can cut it up whether we agree with it or we learn from it or we just don't understand it. Hold on, hold on. Let me get this back.
Woman called Europe was named after a melanated woman called Queen Europa. Europe was named after a melanated woman called Queen Europa. Europe was named after a melanated woman called Queen Europa. And the land that you know of today is Africa, was Europe. The land that you know of today is Europe, was Africa. And if you don't study, you're not going to know these things. The names have been changed. They switch names to confuse you regularly. Just like I'm telling you about the terms black and white, they have been switched. You all will be able to go to our site, UNA Republic on YouTube, and you can find the session that was done, so you can see how to this day, how the names have been switched to black and white. The same thing happened with Africa and Europe. So now, why am I bringing that up? Because y'all heard the term European. Y'all just quick to apply that to a light-skinned being. When the truth is, your original Europeans were melanated, dark-skinned people. Your original Europeans were the Moors. See, that's why they call them, you hear the term Indo-European and all these prefixes on it. They put the prefixes on there to say, oh, these Indo-European Albions. Now y'all done dropped the prefix. Y'all just like, them Europeans, they came over here and then they did this stuff to the Indians. Well, guess what? The original Europeans were melanated people. Europe.
Sheik.
Yeah, Europe.
Yeah.
Princess Queen Europa. Go ahead.
No, I want.
Oh,
She put you right up there. There was a lot of things that you have been saying, and we have been together. So you know, you can relate to this even with she settling with the right complexion of the brothers who was here.
yes,
before.
that's right. The Queen Europa was a Phoenician, and you know, when we think of Phoenicia, you know, we're talking about ancient Carthage and so forth. You know, but back before the Punic Wars, the ancient Phoenician were like Moabites and Canaanites. You know, so that's very interesting. And I tell people all the time, when they say European, if you're talking about somebody of pale skin of European origin, you say pale skin European in this modern sense. But I always tell people that European is like the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was trying to get us to see, that the European was a mindset as well, not just what you think of as, like you said, you know, pale skinned people, so forth and so on. It's a mindset because it has to do with, let's say, I don't want to be crass for anybody's religious belief, but it has to do with new time religious beliefs and, polytheism, things that allude to slavery. And so, yeah, she was hitting the nail on the head where she was saying that black is white and white is black because the word black etymologically denotes to meaning pale. Black comes from bleak, black, or as we may know it, bleach. All right, in the Old High German, and it goes back to meaning livid, wan, or pale. So it's funny how everything has switched because white, or the term white, was used to denote the Moorish sovereigns of what we think of as Europe or Spain and those areas. And there was a certain tribe of Moabites, or known to them as called the Almoravids, and there was a house, a powerful house, a ruling house of the Almoravids, or the Moabites, who are ruling what we know now as Europe during the Renaissance time, named the Alawites. And so when you look into like a Black's Law Dictionary or something, they'll tell you the term free white persons, because the white, or the notion, the thought of a white comes from the Alawite, which was meaning a free person, a sovereign. So then, that trickles down to meaning white, like how we use white today. And now you get into your Federal Directive 15, where they start to use the colorable terms, to describe people or class people: white, black, Asian, Hispanic, blah, 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 blah. Because it lumps people into a class, right? Status systems and stuff like that. So yeah, she was definitely going in with that piece right there. That definitely is in our realm of affairs. And yes, the when you think of those, and one more piece, because when you do think of those first Europeans that were here, who started this, they were dark skinned, melanated people. Matter of fact, the word or Brit, the root word in Britain is Brit, and Brit is a Moabite word that means covenant. So, there's all that there too.
Any question? Any question, brothers and sisters? Any question? I'm like in the classroom, so quiet,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Quiet because
Most
we
of the
have to soak up
information
the
is,
knowledge.
I soak up the knowledge.
yeah,
You
soak
need
it up, because a
to get
lot of
more.
those Europeans that first came here,
Yeah.
they were Moors. They just looked like us, and so that's why it was so easy. See, for
Mhm.
the relations to be made, because King George III was a Moor at the time when Britain was coming over here and all that kind of stuff. They were melanated. So a lot of those, the first president, John Hanson of the Continental Congress of America, was a Moor.
You're going over all right. When we say the first president, because
Mm-hmm.
our offspring goes into the educational institution, we're told that George Washington is
Mm-hmm.
the president. You've just established Brother Hanson as the first president. Give us a bit more detail as to why George Washington became the first president when it was John Hanson who was actually the first president.
Okay, so we've been here for millions of years. Like, this actually is what most people don't understand: that the Americas, the Caribbean, and all that is the motherland. But that's the old time knowledge. That's the old way. There's a good book called Ancient Oriental Mystic Masonry, by Mr. Clyde Bourne, I believe is his last name. It's an
Repeat
old.
or put it in the chat. Sorry.
Let me see. Ancient. I could be saying it wrong now that I'm trying to spell it. Ancient Oriental Mystic Masonry. You can try to get it as a PDF. Swyborn or Clyborn is the last name of the author, but he denotes, and many knew this back in the 1800s, that the Americas were the motherland, and that the first, what we think of as Egypt and all that, was here. Even your Grand Canyon, look it up on Google. And type in Isis Temple, Grand Canyon, and you'll see an old pharaonic temple. I mean, way older than anything that's over in what they call Africa now, right here in so-called, the USA. So there was a time where eventually a lot of the Mongoloid, Asiatic people of what we think of as like China, Russia, they were coming down and migrating through Canada. They came across that Bering Strait, that little piece of water between, well, supposedly a piece of water, but I have old maps that show that Canada and Russia and all that's connected. But so anyway, because have you ever mapped the land? I haven't flown over and mapped it. I'll just look at the map. That's what they say. Okay, right. But older maps show that Canada and Russia is all together, right? So anyway, as they migrated down from the now called north down this way, and they saw, and the Moors were already here in America, thriving. Most of your major cities were major Moorish Empire cities, kingdoms, like what they call St. Louis, Chicago, Sacramento, San Francisco. These were all major cities that already were existing. Lights, street lights, radiators in the buildings, castles, like Tartarian technology, like we were been doing our thing, right? So when they start migrating here, a lot of time in the intermix, they would, what we call the Native American or the Indian today, would be in the plains or whatever, because some of them were not necessarily accepted into some of the major big families. Because remember, Moors were at a time a melanated people. We were very, very rich, very high-minded, and we didn't mix too well sometimes with people. But at the same time, we would allow people to live or do whatever, just depending on who you were dealing with. So anyway, as those Mongoloids, they started coming down and migrating into our land and whatnot, they started having land stakes that we allowed them to do their thing on. Eventually, they mixed a little bit, and then you get what's called like a Melungeon, or you get like that mix of Indian, so-called paler skin natives, and Moors, right? And so when the Europeans first came over here, they were Moors. They were dark-skinned people. There was something set up with the tribes of the Americas that we know as the Iroquois Confederacy. Now, the Iroquois, in their oldest sense, were overseen by the grandfather tribes like the Delawares, who were known as Moors. You can look this up, that the Delaware tribes, Miamis, and a lot of these were just Iroquois themselves were said to be of African stock by a writer, a historian in the 1800s named Bromwell. His last name was Bromwell. It's in my book, so I may be misquoting it, but Bromwell. Anyway, when these Europeans came, they started making, moves with the indigenous Moors here. And so they set up what's called the Continental Congress. The Continental Congress was the first government, as we kind of see it or know it today in the United States of America way, that allowed European states and influence to start to manifest. And they were kind of granted this by the Iroquois Confederacy. And that first president of that Continental Congress was John Hanson. and John Hanson had about a succession of like 8 other presidents after him until 1776 during the Revolutionary War, which was really just the land grab of the Moors. And then in 13 years, they went without a president doing all this transition. And then the United States corporation, in the sense as we know it, headed by George Washington, then came into play in about 1789. So then the Constitution wasn't ratified till what, like 1790, 1789, 1790. So you got to understand that the United States as we know it, they say the 1776, but the Constitution didn't come for 15 years, 1789. Well, what was going on between 76 and 89?
I
Right?
want to say something. Our friend is asking, what is the original name for America? Tamaria. It is very deep, and the Sheik, we're gonna bring it for, but Sheik. What I want to say is we're living very very close to Chicago, and Chicago is one of those city alongside Florida that is proving their story that they're telling us as a lie, a fraud. Chicago was before they started to tell the lies. We were very vibrant people. Just as I said before, when they came to the island that they're calling Jamaica, or most of the Caribbean, that most of the places they're calling in the Caribbean, we were very developed. We had infrastructure that they cannot build even today.
That's right.
They cannot build some of these. If I urge any one of us to go to Chicago or go to any one of the capital here, it is our ancestors that have built these great monuments, great
Yes.
buildings.
Yes. And just to state, it's interesting that you say Chicago. There's a great book by a brother named Prince Iriel Bay, and I want to say it's called At Morium, My Country at Morium. At Morium Mea, I can't think of the name. At Morium Mea Mia, or My Country at Morium. It's like in Latin. And Prince Uriel Bay, if you look up that name, you'll find he's got 3 books, and I got all 3 of them. But he talks about how the name America, as we know it, actually came from Chicago. Because Chicago was a seat of power in the northern parts of America here, and it was called America. So when they were coming and doing a lot of the contracting and going to the seats of power, they would just say America, which translated back to Barca, which goes into a whole nother, line of understanding when we're dealing with some of our tongue. A lot of us were actually Latin speaking people. Some of the main languages that we all spoke were Latin, Arabic, Hebrew. We would speak all these languages. Usually, a well groomed Moor or melanated being in the Americas from the Caribbean or anywhere usually probably spoke about 5 languages back in the day. But we lost a lot of that.
There is 200 language in one village in Ghana. 200. So you, as a melanated noble, had to be very fluent when it comes on to communicating with people to actually be governing them. That is what our ancestors had. They had those communicative skills that is left back here. The reason why I brought up Chicago is, I'm urging you to go and check out the World's Fair. The World's Fair is revealing a lot of things because they tell us that, we're coming from horse and carriage. But, they lied to us, man.
Oh man, you know the big thing about Chicago, it's interesting. What they've done, and this is just the powers that be, you know, whether they be look like us or whatever, aliens, pale skin, whoever, this is the tactic that they use, right? If you ever deal with a big city and you hear about a big um, fire or something like that happened, like, you know, with Chicago, they had the famous Chicago fire and all that. That was on purpose. Like London, 1666, all this.
3 days.
They burn the record. They burning the
Yeah,
record.
yeah. I have to. Now, here's the funny thing. I want you to try to do something. Research the burning of Chicago and try to find a picture, not a drawing, because all you're going to find is drawings. Try to find a picture of the city burning.
No.
Try to find a picture of the city burning. You will not be able to do it. You will find drawings.
Yes.
And then they'll try to show you drawings of the city, like it's just a bunch of pastures. You know, nothing was built there. It's just like some Indians in a canoe. These are all drawings. But in contrast, when you look up pictures of the aftermath of the burning, plenty. So you're telling me that that the city was on fire and nobody took a picture, but when it was all done, now they got 200 pictures worth of it burning. And not only in those pictures will you see burnt down things, you will see concrete buildings broken down. So what kind of fire is bombing the buildings as well as catching the trees and the woods?
No. But
Same thing on 9/11.
no, I want us to think about it, right? They say they took 4 years to build this city. 4 years to build this city as a display of how we have grown. But after building that city within 4 years, 10,000 men, it was
Tore it
destroyed
down.
mysteriously.
Come
You
on,
see?
man.
Come on, they're
I just was watching this documentary last night about the World's Fairs, and you bring this up. Everything you've been doing, this is in divine alignment tonight. Everything we touched on is something that I've been dealing with today or yesterday, literally. Sister says in, or the brother, in elementary school, my daughter told her teacher about George Hanson being the first president. She told her you can't submit it.
This is fact. Today I will show you how a growing online community has slowly been revealing the evidence behind this new realization. This video is going to be about the hidden truth behind all the questions you have about ancient history. How were buildings like this made without modern technology? Why are there similar structures across the planet made by groups of people who had no contact with one another? Why are beautiful buildings being demolished by the government for no reason? And what happened to all the lost technologies we see in literature and historical documents? Well, my friends, your answer lies in the relics of the once grand Tartarian Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the Tartarian Empire, what it is, where it was, and what evidence that we have that it once existed. The Tartarian Empire was a vast regime that ruled over large portions of Asia with outreach all over the world. They created structures all over the planet, from star forts in Central America to even the Empire State Building. That's right, modern history is a lie. The Tartarians had conquered much of the world using lost technologies like Earth-powered batteries, and due to a major cataclysmic mud flood event, they slowly lost their foothold in Asia and abandoned their New World colonies. Their culture was mostly lost in time to this destructive event, and many of their creations were destroyed. Those that survived would be demolished by modern governments with a few exceptions in a global effort to strike the Tartarians from the book and cover up the fact that humanity was once much more powerful than we are today, and that it was unified under a central government to maintain the status quo of new governments that popped up after the Tartarians fell. And wait, no, this cannot be true. The idea that there was once an empire so great that it controlled the entire world and it just up and disappeared is absolutely crazy. I'm sorry to break it to you all, but I don't actually have forbidden knowledge to share with you today. What I'll actually be talking about is the Tartarian conspiracy. Why are there similar structures?
Mm-hmm. Tartar.
Yes, it is.
Oh.
I'm gonna put it in class because it's 17 minutes long, and I noticed that we're over the hour. But we have to
Well,
continue this conversation. It is very interesting, and it leads to your document. You may be saying that, Rusty, what this have to do with our document? As I've always stated to our brothers and sisters, if we don't know where we're coming from, we don't know where we're going. And if we can't stand predominant with our documents when we're declaring our property documents, because we don't know where we're coming from, it's going to be another unnecessary challenge. And we don't have time for that, brothers and sisters. We're trying to make you feel comfortable in your skin. We have touched on 3 major points tonight. One is your rights when it comes on to representing yourself. You know, a lot of us try to be like something happening out there, whether it be in the workplace or somewhere else. You run and you go get an attorney or a lawyer. And you see what the man saying at the courthouse. The attorney or the lawyer is just there because they don't get pay already. The minute the state say, you go and represent that imbecile over there. So that representing of an imbecile bring cash. Ching. So the lesson in that is when you're going to the court and you have even if you're going to get some one of them from the legal fraternity, or you know what I mean, to come and represent you, you must have your documents ready, notified and everything to put in their hands, and they're instructed to work on your behalf. You have to be very smart about this.
The best way, if I may,
yes,
I would just suggest this. If you're going to have an attorney or a lawyer, it's okay if you're the plaintiff. If you're the defendant, I don't know. You may want, if you can afford it, then you can hire an attorney as counsel, and that way you can pay them to give you tips or, you know, processes or stuff like that. But when you hire them to speak for you, then that's a different story.
You're under their jurisdiction right there.
Yeah.
So that was one of our teachings as far as stepping, and we also touch on the point tonight about our contracts. Our contracts, as you hear, it ties into your documents that is given to you by the corporation or the agents. That is their creation, so they have authority over any documents that you have that was given to you by them, unless you claim your property. So any documents that your property goes on must be under your jurisdiction. If they call you up and they use your name, that is how the trademark comes in, where you have all right to claim that name because you have copyright that name, you have trademarked that name. That name belongs to you. Secondly, we touch on the origin of our people, because we wanted to get this out there, where when you hear we talk about the coloration of our people, we need to use it in its right context. You hear the Sheikh back up the understanding of the word black, which actually means pale, and pale means white. So, you know, we're dissecting it so we can feel comfortable, because a lot of times when we say we're sovereign, to explain sovereignty to someone who is just not knowledgeable of it sometimes can be very complicated and challenging. But you must stand your ground, because they will not learn what you have been doing for how many months, how many years, and we're still not anywhere on this journey, because this journey has been set back because of miseducation of our people, domestication of our people, and we did not get that chance to really reveal our true powers. Now, through the help of the ancestors, as you hear what our brother the Grand Sheik says, nothing that we're doing is something that we personally is guiding. These are spiritual encounters, and these encounters, when they put together, we don't have to doubt it. It will be the perfect remedy for our people to come out of this struggle that we're in. Change your status, know how to use your status, and be proud of your status, because we are our ancestors and our ancestors are us. Any questions? Because I think we've rounded it off tonight. Any questions, brothers and sisters? If not, you can reach out to the Sheik. He's one of us. If brothers and sisters that are here in Tamaria, aka America, yes, you can be a part of this family here. And as I've said to you, that this is a family. This is not a detachment from our tip of the spears. We say Nyankopong is the tip because we have the 1738, but we know that our little regime or regiment that we are standing with needs a collective support, as Marcus Messiah Garvey has perfectly said, that we must collectively come together for our security and our surety for equal rights and justice. And that's what we're here. So we shall be.
We shall be. Islam.
We shall be.
We shall be.
One love.
We shall be.
Please. Their culture was mostly lost in time to this destructive event, and many of their creations were destroyed. Those that survived would be demolished by modern governments with a few exceptions in a global effort to strike the Tartarians from the book and cover up the fact that humanity was once much more powerful than we are today, and that it was unified under a central government to maintain the status quo of new governments that popped up after the Tartarians fell. And wait, no, this cannot be true. The idea that there was...
Hello, dear listeners. Today, Michael Carnegie has something special for you. A business opportunity that might just change your life. Imagine working from the comforts of your own home or anywhere in the world with just your laptop, computer, or smartphone. Intrigued? Well, stay tuned because Michael Carnegie is about to unveil the secrets of an exciting online business. Friends, this isn't your typical business. In fact, it's so unique that you don't sell a single product. Instead, you share the incredible benefits of this opportunity with others, helping them kickstart their journey to passive income. And the best part? It's automated, running 24/7, 365 days a year. So what's the catch? There isn't one. No need to stock inventory, handle shipping, or deal with customer service. Just sit back, relax, and watch your income grow. But how do you get started? That's the easy part. The entire training program is video-based, making it accessible to anyone, regardless of their background or experience. And if you ever find yourself in need of guidance, mentors are there to support you every step of the way. Now you might be wondering, what's the real payoff? Well, here it is. More time with your family. Picture never missing out on your children's important milestones, creating countless memories due to increased travel time, and having the financial freedom to save for retirement and even that dream home. Imagine a life where you're not tied to a 9-to-5 routine, but instead you're in control of your time and your destiny. This is not just a business opportunity, it's a lifestyle change. If you're ready to take the plunge into a world of unlimited potential, where your success is only limited by your ambition, then this online business may just be the game changer you've been waiting for. To learn more and start your journey to financial freedom, visit the website at www.michaelmcarnegie.com. That's www.michaelmcarnegie.com. Don't let this opportunity pass you by.